All right, 22 on the SBAC.
Oh,
We got probability. Okay? To be able to do this probability, you have to first translate everything into decimal. So 35% would be 0.35, right? 25% would be 0.25, 20% would be 0.20, 15% would be 0.15, and 5% would be 0.05. Okay? And from there, why is it so hard to write this? 0.05. What's going on here?
Yo, Wars had the picture too.
There we go.
Bro, you see Kobe's permit?
Guys, focus.
That's working.
All right, so how am I going to figure out? Well, we know we got to take 2 spins on the wheel. Okay? Each wheel is independent of the other. Right? So it doesn't matter what you get on the first wheel. You can still get it on the second wheel, right? Second spin. Okay? So you spin the wheel, and the chances are you got 35% chance to get 1 ticket. Okay? You got 25% chance to get 2, 20% to get 3, 15 to get 5, and 5 to get 10. Okay? 5% chance to get 10 tickets. Now you're going to spin it twice. So the lowest amount of tickets you could get is 2. Right? Is a 1 and a 1. And the way you figure that out, you got a 1 and a 1, right? It tells you right here that the second spin, you would have a 30% chance, 35% chance times a 35% chance. It tells you right here how to figure that out. And you're going to come up with the probability of this. It tells you. This is how you do it. Right? So we go to try to figure out a 3. Right? So how would we get a 3? How could we get a 3? With 2 spins.
How can you get 3 tickets?
Yeah, with 2 spins. How would you get 3 tickets?
2 tickets and 1 ticket?
2 tickets and 1 ticket. Okay? So we get a 2, and then we spin a 1. Right? And what's the probability of spinning a 2? 25%. So 0.25. And then of getting in the 1? 35. So 0.35. Right? And then we're going to multiply those 2. Okay? And when I multiply those 2, I get 0.35 times, or 0.25 times 0.35, and I get 0.0875. But I was supposed to get 0.1750. What happened? What's wrong? Is there another way I could have gotten the 3? Huh? Oh, it's only 2 times. So your first spin you got a 2, and your second spin you got a 1. Is there a different way you could have gotten 3? Yeah? No, not if you spun 3. Because there's no 0, right? If there was a 0, then yeah, a 3 and a 0. What about if I spun a 1 and then a 2? Right? On my first spin, could I have spun a 1, and the second spin I spun a 2? Well, I have 2 spins, right? The same numbers, but I have 2 spins. The first spin, the probability of me getting a 2 is 25%. Now, I'm dependent to get a 1 on the next one, right? And that's why we multiply. That's why, because I'm dependent, I have to get a 1. And to have to get a 1 on the second spin means I have to multiply these two probabilities. Okay? Now, what if I got a 1 to begin with? Then that means I would have to get a 2, right? The only way I can have 3 is if I had a 1 and a 2 then, right? Instead of a 2 and a 1. Does that make sense?
You're completely confusing. Like, I don't, like, it makes no sense.
Well, how can I spin to get 3? I get a 2 and a 1. That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you could get a 2 and a 1, right?
Yeah.
But he could get 3 by getting a 1 and then a 2.
Yeah, but how does it make a different number though?
Well, the probability means that there's more chances, right? It's not just the chance of this anymore. You also have the chance of getting a 1 and a 2. So here's the difference. If I roll a die, what's the chances of a 6-sided die? What's the chances of rolling a 3? 1 out of 6. Okay. And what's the chances of you rolling a 4? 1 out of 6. Well, what's the chances of either of you rolling a 3 or a 4 when I roll it? If I roll a 3 or a 4?
1 or 1.
2 out of 6.
2 out of 6. How'd you figure that out?
There's 2 numbers.
Because you had 1 out of 6 chances, and you had 1 out of 6 chances, and you added the two probabilities up. Because you said, wait, we have two ways of getting. We could get a 3, or we could get a 4, right? And you added those two probabilities to get 2 out of 6. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you're talking about like the number we got didn't match.
Well, that did match. Because the 1 and a 2 is the same as a 2 and a 1, isn't it?
No, like the probability where it says 0.125, but we got 0.0875.
Yeah.
So why didn't we?
Why doesn't it match? Because what would this probability be? Wouldn't that be 0.0875?
Yeah.
And then if we add those up, what do we get?
Oh.
17.5.
Now that makes sense.
Okay? So what we're doing is, because there's two different ways to get the chance to have the possibility of getting a 3. Every way that's possible, you're going to add up. Is that making better sense now?
Yeah.
It's kind of going with that die thing. Because he had a chance at 3 and you had a chance at 4, 3 or 4, we're going to add those two probabilities because there's 2 chances, right? Here there's 2 chances also. It's just, it's a little bit more complicated than a 3 and a 4 on a die. Does that make sense? But it's still 2 chances. You could get a 3, 2 and a 1, or you could get a 1 and a 2. And because they are separate from each other, we're adding those probabilities. They're not dependent on each other, right? You don't have to get this in order to get this, right? These are separate, and so we're adding them. Now, the reason we multiply is because if I get a 2, to get a 3, I have to get a 1. That's the only thing that will let me get a 1, right? And because we're dependent on getting a 1, we multiply the probability.
So for 4, would it be 1 and 3, 3 and 1 and 2 and 2?
Perfect. So that's where I was going to next. So now, yeah, if we think about a 4, we got you said a 1 and 3,
Yeah.
and then the 3 and 1,
And then 2.
and then a 2 and a 2. And the 2 and a 2 won't switch, right?
So this is
Because it's the same number.
okay.
Perfect. But what you want to do is make sure you add those probabilities up. So you got to multiply each one and then add them up. Okay? So then and exactly what we would do, we would say, okay, that would be 0.35 times, I don't know why this thing's crazy on me, but 0.35 times
0.20.
0.20? Point I don't know what's going on with this thing. Why it won't draw at all. But times 0.20, and then this is going to be 20 times 35, and then this one's going to be 25 times 25, right? And they're all 0.25s is 1 and 2. And if it would let me hit the points, I would do it. But then we're going to, right? We're going to add those up. Okay? So let's do it real quick. We're in the calculator. Is that still recording?
I don't know.
Yep. So we got 0.35 times 2. Oh, slowly go. 0.2. Right? Now, equals. So then I could say plus, and then if I want to keep adding things, I would say parentheses. And the cool thing is on this calculator that you click on this test, it'll let you just type, you can type this out. Parentheses, 0.35 times, parentheses, or times 0.2, parentheses, plus, right?
Yeah, there.
Okay, and then 0.2 times 0.35, parentheses, plus, and then 0.25 times, gotta have the parentheses, otherwise you'll screw it all up. 0.25 times 0.25 equals, and good. So I should get, right, 0.2025. So you guys should be able to get that. Okay, and that's what you get for 4. Okay. And my suggestion is when you get a chart like this, is that you figure it out for something other than the ones you have to do, right? Make sure you're doing it right first, okay? Because they're going to give you some kind of probability like this, okay? And you need to make sure you know how to figure out these in order to figure out those. Now, to get a 10, what's funny is with a 10, the only thing you can do is get 2 5s, right? So, the point here is if you can read the directions, you're going to get a third of this problem right no matter what. Because the directions told you how to do it. They didn't tell you about the adding part though, did they? Right? So, there's 2 tests here. One, I think they're testing you on, can you follow directions? Can you figure it out by what you're seeing? Okay. Then you'll be able to get number 10 right. Because when you do that, you'll get 0.15 times 0.15, right? And you get 0.0225. Okay? And you got that right. Now, what the test is also testing is will they get the 8, will they get this one right? Or will they get 0.0875? And then on the last one, how are we going to find out 13? How do you get 13? 10 and 3. Is there any other way we can do it? No. So, again, 10 and 3 is a little easier than this one, right? This one you had to do 1 and 3, 3 and 1, and 2 and 2, right? So you had 3 possibilities. So they wanted to see, can you find every possibility, right? And then, can you do just 1 possibility? And then can you do 2 possibilities? So they're testing you on 1 possibility, 2 possibilities, and 3 possibilities. So the 3 possibilities is 10 and 3, and that looks, 10 and 3. So that's 0.05 times 0.2. And then couldn't you just multiply that by 2? That'd be a quicker way of doing it, right?
For what?
For this one, for 13. Because there's going to be 2 of them, right? There's going to be the there's going to be the 10 and the 3, or there's going to be the 3 and the 10.
Yeah.
Right? So we just say 2 times the quantity, or parentheses, point, is it 0.05 times 0.2, and that's 0.02. Good. And that's the how to figure out the probability on that. Problem 22.